Is it recording? Yes. Get you some water, get you everything you need.
Yeah, I got about a
If you would just have a seat in the green chair. Mr. Robert can have a seat in the chair. We'll get started in just a second. You got a cell phone or anything, you might
Yeah.
have to turn it off.
Yeah.
Or
thank you.
at least mute it. You don't have to turn it off.
I don't think you'd want my Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA, blasting when you're trying to record.
Yeah.
Probably after this next week, things should probably calm down on social media about it. Would be my guess.
She fucking my beard up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, is that where they took the hair for?
Yeah.
Yeah, on both sides.
She done
Yeah.
better on this side. It didn't help that she was like, this is my first time doing this, so please bear with me.
That makes you real comfortable.
Yeah.
At least she wasn't using a straight razor.
Yeah. I told her, I was like, I don't care what you need to do. I said, you know, it needs to get done. So just, like, if you got to take a whole chunk off one side and me go bald, I'm like, well, I said, I got a place to be after this, so try not to make it look too bad.
Now, last summer when they did the radiation on this side of my face, beard fell out. This side didn't. But when I had the radiation about 5 or 6 years ago, it was on this side, but this side fell out.
Yeah. Now, are they gonna need this, or?
I don't know, just, that's more sheriff's office than,
Oh, okay.
I mean, no, they don't, let me have it for a minute. Because the sheriff made it a directive that you do it, so then that was under Brady. So whatever it shows is, under Garrity, so that's for administrative purposes, not their purposes here.
Okay.
They may ask you, if you're on any medication that would, influence you, impair your ability to do it, but that's just
Typical
standard.
question.
Yeah. I'll get a laptop to show you the video. Y'all gonna have a laptop or something where he can review his video?
Where he can review the video? Heck,
Yeah.
I can't even review the video, not until after it's done and on the system. So I don't have a laptop. I'm not doing my laptop. I know some investigators have a laptop with a camera on it.
But we thought, from our conversations, that we'd be able to look at the video before we started.
That's gonna be a supervisory question. So I haven't ever had that request, so I don't know.
So you asking what now?
The video of the incident.
Oh, at the incident, I thought you meant at the interview.
Oh, hell no.
Oh, shit. We're not releasing anything until the investigation is completely done.
I'm gonna make it on the record that we're asking for it then, because I'd understood we were going, because the sheriff was gonna let us look at it. I said, hell, state police, we can look at it there. Because I know when I did Neal's a number of years ago, they let him look at the.
Let me make a call real quick and see what.
Yeah, we'll find out. I'm not.
And I know when I did the one for Perryville, that shooting, we got to look at the video. I forget the agents that were involved.
So did you want to do it while he's being interviewed?
No.
Or you just want to see the video?
Just see it
Before the interview?
Yeah.
Before the interview?
yeah, I mean, and I don't mind y'all saying, have you, reviewed it, and, say yes. I
thought you meant.
oh, I'm sorry.
I thought you meant a copy of this interview.
Oh, no, sir,
So,
no,
yeah,
sir.
there's no way I can get a copy of this yet.
No, I wasn't, no, I know on that, because it's
Gotcha.
ongoing criminal investigations, and it's not, no charges have been filed, so I don't get it under the FOI for ongoing, and I don't get it under discovery, because there's no pending criminal case. I'm talking about y'all's interview
I guess.
today, so I was just wanting to be able to look at the video.
And you're wanting to do that before he's interviewed, though? Is that what you're?
Yeah, I mean, I don't, or if y'all want to play it while he's being interviewed, I don't care which way, just where he has a chance to look at it, because as we all know,
We'll find that out. So that's what he's going to do.
the body, doesn't always remember immediately after, or even sometimes for a while after, what the hell, when you go through that.
Yeah, I get it. Well, we'll find that out in just a minute.
let me make sure I didn't mislead him on sort of the process, not necessarily completely the time. Y'all eventually get everything put together of all the interviews of all the witnesses and the medical examiner's report, and it'll be weeks before you get the tox screen.
Correct.
And then when you get it all, do you give a copy to Staley and the prosecutor, or just to the prosecutor?
You're talking about after everything's complete
You're-
to the prosecuting attorney's office.
Okay.
And I don't, now Staley hasn't reached out to me, but that don't mean he hasn't to other people. So, but he will get, I'm gonna try to get this file done in a timely manner. And like I said, it'll go to the prosecuting attorney and then.
Yeah, I just didn't remember whether y'all gave it to the,
Staley or not, or directly to the prosecutor or to the.
no, both the head of the investigated agency, that's, I'm gonna call it that, i.e. the Lonoke County Sheriff's Office, and.
Well, they're not technically investigated, so I won't give them a copy until after it's
Okay,
released
well,
from the prosecuting attorney.
Yeah, I might have used the wrong word. I mean, the employing agency probably
Okay.
would have been a better.
Now, like in other officer-involved shootings, you know, if they want, what we try to do is, if they want like his interview for an internal, we'll give them a copy
That's,
of our interview.
that's,
You know, we'll do that.
Yeah, okay.
So he wouldn't say something different, totally different from another agency. So
well,
we will give him a copy.
that,
So, but yeah, not the case file.
no, okay, you and I are on the same
Yes,
page, finally.
yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
ask my question right.
The interview, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
I should have just made arrangements with Staley yesterday to meet him and get the damn CD from him.
That's why I'm really not worried about watching the video.
I don't want you to give a statement without having
You're right.
your
I understand.
your memory completely refreshed, because while the camera might not give you the whole picture, whatever it saw, you can't argue about the accuracy of the recording.
Unfortunately, I mean, I remember everything like,
Mm,
I say that, but I mean, I don't know, I've never been in this game.
I don't want to put it, I think you very well may, but just in case you don't, I don't want you to say A, when out of honesty,
Mhm.
honestly believing it, when in fact the camera shows B. Is
Mhm.
that, because the stress and the adrenaline dump and the other enzymes and all that can do it also.
I understand what you're saying.
You know, it's also, do you deer hunt?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, you know, you see that deer,
Mhm.
do you always see the one behind it?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mhm.
you know, you come in on just what's right there,
I understand.
so. I mean, like Neil, you might not recognize the name, but he's a sheriff now in Monroe County. He was the game and fish wildlife officer on the parking lot at Walmart.
Mhm. Yeah, he came and spoke at our class
Okay.
in 2013 with those two sovereign citizens.
Yeah. I made it to West Memphis that day in an hour.
Did you?
I got a call from the FOP, president of the Wildlife Officers, FOP. And he asked me if I'd go to West Memphis, and I just figured there probably wasn't gonna be very many people, policemen between here and there anyway, so. I mean, I wasn't weaving in and out of traffic.
Yeah. But you were there to a point, making a point.
Well, I was talking about, you know, if the lane was cleared, I was running about 100.
Yeah. Can't do that now with construction.
No.
I've been was in a pursuit down through that way, and the construction was ridiculous.
Mr. Newcomb, Mr. Davis, your question and your inquiry about reviewing the video, we not gonna let you review the video before statement. Okay, and that's coming from the 23rd Judicial District Prosecutor,
Pardon me, from the what?
Chuck Brown.
Okay.
Okay. He says you just file discovery if you want it.
Well, there's no charges, so I can't file discovery.
I understand that. That's why I say I understand that. So
I'm just going on the record, when we get started, you know, you can say that Prosecutor Graham said no, and.
we got it. It's on the record now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's on the record now.
Michael, let me introduce myself again. My name is Special Agent Greg Bray, State Police. This is Sergeant Robert Middleton. We're just going to do an interview with you. And today's date is 6/28. I know Mr. Newcomb is representing you. It is 6/28/2021, approximately 1:09 p.m. Michael, what is your middle initial?
Christian, C.
C, your last name?
Davis.
D-A-V-I-S.
Yes, sir.
All right, white male. What's your date of birth? What's, go ahead and just give me Lonoke County Sheriff's Office address.
It's 440
440?
D.D. Lane, D-E-E, D-E-E. That's in Lonoke, Arkansas. I believe it's 72086.
Okay. What's a good telephone number for you?
Hold on just a minute. Could he give that off the record or have it exercised from it if anybody does an FOI on it, because he's getting ready to give you his personal cell phone
Just give
number.
me,
We'll get it when we leave.
Yeah, I'm not trying to keep it from you, okay? I just,
give me the Lonoke County Sheriff's Office phone.
It is 501
501
676
676.
3001.
Okay. What is your occupation and employer?
Employer's Lonoke County Sheriff's Department,
Okay.
and I'm a patrol sergeant.
How long have you been with the Lonoke County Sheriff's Office?
Since 2011.
Since 2011 at the Lonoke County?
Yes, sir. I was working in the jail and then was transferred over to patrol in 2013.
So 2013 you became on the patrol side?
Yes, sir.
How much education have you had?
High school GED. And then I did some stuff at ASU BV for GED as well.
Oh, so you went to, just to finish out your GED?
GED.
Okay. That's all the basic information I'll give. All right, Michael, this is a pretty big case, and there's a lot of things that are going on, so I know Mr. Newcomb already said before, but I'm going to go ahead and read you your Miranda rights, okay?
Yes, sir.
I want you to read along with me, okay?
Yes, sir.
So your first name is Michael,
Yes, sir.
middle initial again,
C.
last name Davis, This is 6/23. Correction, 6/28. 2021. Arkansas State Police. Company A. Interview room. And Laura. Time is 1:13. Okay? I'm gonna need your initial responses. I need a yes or no, okay?
Yes, sir.
You've done all this, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Before we ask you any questions, you must understand your rights. You understand you have the right to remain silent,
Yes, sir.
okay? I'm gonna put a yes here. And then with your initial vote, a yes.
Yes, sir.
You can keep it. Do you understand that anything you can't say can or will be used against you in a court?
Yes, sir.
All right, if you put yes and then your initials above that. Do you understand that you have the right to talk to a lawyer for advice before we ask you any questions and have him with you during questioning?
Yes, sir.
Okay? Number 4, do you understand that if you cannot afford a lawyer, one will be appointed for you before questions if you wish at no cost to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay? All right, number 5, do you understand if you decide to answer any questions now without a lawyer present, you'll still have the right to stop answering at any time? You also have the right to stop answering at any time until you talk to an attorney. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
I'll read the waiver, okay? I have read this statement of my rights and understand what my rights are. I'm willing to make a statement and answer questions. I understand and know what I'm doing. No promises or threats have been made against me. No pressure or coercion of any kind has been used against me. Do you agree with that?
Correct.
Do you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
If you would sign that. You okay? Michael, you okay?
No, I mean,
Okay. And like I said,
I've just had a lot of threats toward my family and
I understand. Basically, Michael, we want to get your side of the story,
I understand.
okay? And we're trying to do this in an unbiased
I know.
or fact finding.
I know.
So we may ask you some hard questions, and like I said, Sergeant Middleton's probably going to ask you some questions too. Give me just, how long have you been with the department, Michael?
Since 2011.
2011. Give me some of your responsibilities, or just tell me, okay, from 2011, you was on the patrol.
No,
No, you was in jail.
working in
Okay,
jail.
so you was a jailer. You worked there for how long?
I couldn't tell you.
A couple of years,
Uh,
3 years.
Well, I worked in the jail as a jailer, and then within like 6 months or so, I was transferred over to transport.
Okay. When you get onto the patrol side, or when you actually get employed as a certified law enforcement officer for the patrol
It
side?
had been 2013
2013. So you've been with the,
on the patrol side
Patrol
since
side.
2013.
Okay. So give me some of your qualifications of what you had to go through.
Firearms training. I mean, all went through Alita. Graduated through Alita. We do our yearly firearms qualifications. Racial profiling, all the normal stuff I've done through or went through instructors development. I'm a certified law enforcement instructor. CPR instructor, just got that. A stop the bleed instructor. I'm also a civilian active shooter, civilian response to active shooter instructor. And then taking, I can't explain all the classes I've taken just to keep up with training hours and stuff like that right now.
So when'd you get promoted?
It's about a year ago, just over a year
2020,
ago.
2019, 2020?
Yes, sir.
So what is some of your responsibility as a sergeant?
Supervising deputies under me,
How many-
answering
Okay, how many deputies think you got?
3.
3?
Well, me and another sergeant split one guy. We share the K-9 unit. He works noon to midnight, so I have him for from 5 to midnight.
So what, leading up to this incident, what shifts have you been working, or what shift do you work? Like,
Night shift,
okay, what does that consist of?
like 5 in the afternoon to 5 in the morning.
So do they have like 2 shifts? They got 3 shifts?
No, we have 2 shifts,
2 shifts, 5P,
to 5A and then 5A to 5P.
and you work 5P to 5A on this date,
Yes, sir.
when the incident occurred on 6/20. And,
That's a shift I normally work the majority of my career.
okay. So, give me a little bit what you do.
My main priority is to patrol or to back my deputies on certain, certain calls, make sure that they're doing their jobs correctly. I do go over their reports, approve reports, and handle any issues that, the jail might be having or that dispatch has.
Okay. So at this night in question on 6/23, was there any other officers that you were working with you, or were you the only officer working, or how does that work?
I had 2 other officers that were working with me.
Okay. So just for background information, so give me a day, like when you go to work, what time do you normally go to bed? If you work at 5A, what time do you normally go to bed
Right, well,
to go to sleep?
since I worked the night before, I would get went to bed right when I got home.
Okay. And you stay to sleep, and what time do you normally get up? I'm just trying to get a little bit.
2, 3 o'clock,
And then you go report your shift at 5 or
4:45.
4:45? Okay.
A little bit before, between 4:40 and 4:45.
Do you think you got, you feel rested pretty much all the time and
Well, I'm not saying rest at all.
your job?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Oh, I know about kids, trust me. Just walk me through on the start of your shift on 6/20. So you would work 5 p. Now, do you work 4 shifts? Do you work 3 shifts? A week or 4?
This would have been our 5-day week.
So
We work 2-week rotations. We work 1 week. We'll work Monday, Tuesday, off Friday, Saturday, or Monday, Tuesday, off Wednesday, Thursday, work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then the next week we'd be off 5 days. We'd only work Wednesday and Thursday.
Okay.
This day was our long week, so I would have worked Monday and then I worked this Tuesday.
Okay. So on the day of question 6/23, or the morning of 6/23, so you started your shift on 6/22 at 5 p, correct?
For about 4:45.
4:45. Can you go through pretty much what your shift was leading up to the incident, what all transpired, what happened?
I came on duty, went to, I'm also on the fire department. So at a auxiliary meeting with the fire department, so I had swung by this while she was there because she was having, some issues, or acting kind of weird or acting kind of crazy. So I went to go be with her. I sat there at the fire department for a little bit, probably 20-30 minutes. I responded to back Deputy Rice on a couple calls. And then on this night, we have one of our deputies takes her short night, which means that she leaves at 1 in the morning and goes home.
Mm-hmm.
So she typically has reports that she's got to get done, and so I covered their district, whatever district that they were covering, when they go home, I cover their district. So while she was down there working at the sheriff's office on her reports, and before she had done that, I went down to the sheriff's office to check our box to see if I needed to go over or approve any reports before she went down there to work on her stuff. I think it was about 10:30 or 11 o'clock or so, and there was no reports in the box, so I came up north, and she was on her way down to the sheriff's office to pick up a puppy dog. During that night, or while she was down there doing that, Deputy Rice had gotten a call request from England Police Department to assist them in a disturbance where a domestic disturbance had occurred, and that the subject had fled on foot. So she went down there to back him on that. I'm not sure the time frame, but that's where they were down there for the majority of the time, and I stayed up central north, the north central area of the county, just parked, waiting for them to finish up down there. And then after they were finished, they were down there for a little bit, and then once they were finished with that, I thought she'd already went home. But Deputy Rice was given a call on Highway 294 for a Mustang driving recklessly and doing burnouts in front of someone's house. I had called Deputy Rice, or I'd started down that way, and then I had called Deputy Rice, and he kind of gave me a lowdown saying that, that the girl, that there was a female there at the house, and that she was being stalked by this guy, and that's why he kept driving by the house. So I started down that way. And while I started down that way, I was traveling southbound on Highway 89, south of Cabot. As I was approaching Forbes, I noticed a vehicle had turned off of 89 onto Forbes and was stopped in the middle of the road with the reverse lights on, with a large amount of smoke coming from the vehicle. And as soon as I passed by it, it seemed like I hit a blanket of fog, which I later determined was smoke. So I noticed that the vehicle was backing up from Forbes back onto Highway 89. I turned into the church. I can't think of the name right now. The church there, just south of Forbes in the corner. I turned into the far turn-in and slowly crept up to the exit. Excuse me.
Okay, take your time.
I noticed a vehicle traveling southbound. It was making a loud racket. Clearly had some kind of car issues. A ton of smoke coming out from the back of it to the point where I could barely get the license plate off of it. I had turned in behind it. I ran the tag. At this point, I had suspected the vehicle was possibly a stolen vehicle, that they damaged it while trying to leave wherever they had gotten it, or drove it through a ditch or something like that. So I had requested Deputy Rice start my way because I knew he was just south of my location. I initiated traffic stop on the vehicle. The vehicle continued a short distance and then crossed over into the northbound lane of travel and went to go to a stop. Before I could put my vehicle in park, the vehicle gunned it, which, I mean, it sounded like they gunned it due to how loud the vehicle mechanical was. Gunned it. I was picking up my radio to advise SO that they were running. The vehicle then turned into Mahoney, so I thought that they were trying to safely get off to the side of the road. I advised SO that be advised that they just pulled into the Mahoney's Auto Repair Shop. And before I could even put my vehicle and get my vehicle stopped and in park, the driver jumps out of the vehicle to the point where he slides and runs to the back of is running to the back of his bed of his truck. I holler at him for him to stay in the vehicle, get back in the vehicle, and he's not complying with my commands. The truck is rolling back towards me. He reaches his hands into the bed of his truck. I'm telling him to stop. Let me see your hands. Let me see your hands. Show me your hands. And he wasn't complying. And I shot him. And immediately his hands came out. After I shot him, his hands came out from the bed of the truck. A coolant can came flying out of the back of the truck. And I had sat there and advised SO. I hadn't even had time to turn my portable radio on. It happened so quick, and I turned my portable radio on, advised SO that shots had been fired. I mean, during the incident, I mean, the passenger, even the whole time I'm yelling at the guy to stay in the vehicle, and then get back in the vehicle, and then show me your hands, stop. The passenger stuck his hands out the vehicle, so I know the guy could hear me. I mean, but he didn't say anything to me. He didn't look at me. I thought he was going to kill me. And then shortly after, the vehicle rolled into me. And I held him at gunpoint. Anytime the passenger would kind of lower his hands, I would go from the driver's side of my vehicle to the back, so that way I could see his hands. And then I did that back and forth. And once Deputy Rice got there, which I don't know the time frame, but once Deputy Rice got there, I told him to do a felony takedown on the vehicle, to have the passenger come back to him. We approached to go clear the vehicle, and immediately my priority was to render first aid. By the time I got my gloves, and stuff, and I mean, I didn't even grab my medical bag. It was in the bed of my truck. Cabot had pulled up prior to me making contact back with the driver of the vehicle, and Deputy Rice pulled me out of the situation since Cabot was there to render aid.
That's pretty much it that you're coming in.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to follow up with some of your questions on that. Have you ever been involved in an officer-involved shooting before?
What do you mean?
Have you ever been involved in an officer-involved shooting of anybody else before, prior to this incident?
Have I ever shot anybody?
Or have you ever, yes.
Yes, I have not shot anybody.
Have you ever been involved in, have you ever experienced anything of somebody shooting somebody else, being a witness to or a part of?
Yes, sir.
You have? Okay. So you've had some dealings with a shooting of a suspect or
yes, sir.
A person?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
He tell us about that.
I can't tell you the date, the times, or the year, but it was there on East Main in Cabot parole had done they were looking for a guy that had, I guess he had like 80-something warrants on child pornography or something to the effect. They were looking for him at a house there on the corner of East Main and 89. And they ended up finding a guy that I guess had 36 or 37 something grams of dope. And he was a parolee. The parole officer searched him. I searched him. He was wearing like 3 or 4 different layers of clothing or pants, baggy pants, baggy jeans and sweatpants, and then gym shorts and then boxers. But me and a parole officer had searched him, and we ended up putting him in the back of my car. And prior to me going to transport him, the parole officer had opened the back door of my patrol car to advise him what he was being charged with, and the suspect kicked the door. And at this point, I was standing at the front of my car, and the suspect kicked the door open, and I thought he was trying to escape, kick out. So I took a step forward. When he kicked the door, the parole officer had said "gun," shut the door and ducked down, and 2 shots rang out through the window. They started shooting into the car. I hunkered down on the front of my hood of my car with my gun out, waiting for a target to present itself. A target never presented itself to me, so I never shot.
What time of the day was this?
This was afternoon, about 3 or 4 or so.
A couple of years ago, do you think, or it's been longer? 5 years ago?
4 probably.
Before I go back into the incident, have you ever had contact with this truck before? Have you ever seen this truck before? Anything?
Not to my knowledge. I haven't even looked at the picture of the kid or anything like that. I didn't know, I didn't even know he was a kid until somebody told me out there.
So you never even seen the 2 subjects before?
Not that I'm aware of.
Have you ever been to Mahoney's or in that general area or anything for any kind of calls, extra patrols, or whatever it may be? Have you ever, sheriff's office ever had to be in that general area?
I've been in the area before in reference to there was a pursuit that ended there. Kevin had gotten in a pursuit and we cut through the back field on the property, but I had never, not to my knowledge, I've never been to a call there. Now I've made traffic stops that have pulled into there, and I drive by there all the time, but.
What about off duty? Had you ever been at Mahoney's?
No, sir. No.
What about anyone in the general vicinity? Do you know anybody that lives around that area? Or
No, sir. The only thing I think I've done off duty is I might have went there to barn or orchard and gotten strawberries.
So, when was the last time that you fired your weapon? No, I'm not talking about qualification. Well, let's talk about qualification. When was the last time you qualified, do you think?
It was last October, our standard qualifications.
Have you ever fired your weapon while on duty? Discharged your weapon?
No, sir. No, I have to put deer down and stuff.
Okay.
But other than that, no. Never had any accidental discharges, nothing like that. To my knowledge.
So you have discharged your weapon while on duty, and it's been at animals, wild animals, or game, or whatever being put down?
Yeah, to put them down for
Not
deer
hunting.
accidents, yeah.
Okay. Let's go back a little bit to the incident, okay? 'Cause I need to know more. So the vehicle was Northbound on 89, tell me again, which direction of travel was the vehicle going when you first made contact, or when you first saw it?
It was going northbound, but it had just turned right onto Forbes Road.
Onto or from?
Onto Forbes Road from Highway 89.
Okay.
What's in that general area?
It's directly across from, at that intersection. If you're looking, say I'm looking northbound, here you have a field, you have, I think there's some duplexes or a house or some, and a couple of duplexes. You have Forbes Road directly here. You have Gun Club Road directly here across from Forbes. And then to the south you just have trees and wood, and then trees and wood.
So, were you first, Forbes Road, is that near Mahoney's? Or is that not?
That's, are you talking about Mahoney, the auto shop, or Mahoney Loop?
Mahoney's Loop, is that a road?
It's road.
Yeah, where's Mahoney Loop Road at?
Mahoney Loop intersects with Forbes, and it's also north of Highway 89.
Okay.
And if you were caught, and if earlier, whenever you were referring, if I'd ever been to Mahoney's, I thought you were referring to the repair shop.
Okay.
But if you were talking about Mahoney Loop Road, we go out there all the time.
Yeah, I didn't know there's a Mahoney's Loop Road. to be
Yes, sir,
honest.
there's
I
a
didn't even know,
there's
'cause
a-
I'm not familiar with that area.
There's a Mahoney Loop that's just north of Forbes.
Is that near Mahoney's Body Shop?
No, sir, Mahoney's, I mean, it's not a far distance, but it's south, body shop south of it.
Give me approximate distance.
About 3 miles, 3 miles.
So when you first, and you were, what direction were you traveling?
Southbound.
So you so when you said you met them, or you, that means you actually met them going the opposite direction.
When I put eyes on the vehicle, noticed the vehicle, they were northbound. I had noticed them turn into Forbes, stop in the middle of the road, and as I passed them and met them,
That's what
they
you
were
said.
stopped in the middle of the road of Forbes with their reverse lights on, with a large amount of smoke and all that. And as soon as I had passed them, it had seemed like there was a blanket. I thought that it was fog. It was so thick.
All right, walk me again. So what happened after that?
I had drove down to that church, turned into the church's parking lot, the far entrance, slowly circled back, and then I noticed them coming southbound. The truck was making a loud racket, like clunk, 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 tons of smoke coming from the vehicle. Pulled in behind it, ran the 28 on it, could barely get the 28 on it.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I remember this part. How fast, where do you think you were going from the time you turned around at the church to get behind him? How fast were you going? I mean, how fast was the vehicle going?
Their vehicle
Yeah, how fast were you going behind him, trailing him, or trying to get his tag?
is probably 40 miles an hour or so.
So he was probably traveling about 40?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But it seemed like the vehicle was maxed out, like that they had it to the floor, the way that the engine or whatever was making that noise. It was as if they were trying to go faster, but it just wouldn't do it.
Okay, so you get up behind the vehicle, traveling about 40, and you're trying to run the tag. Did you ever actually run the tag? Did
Yes,
you ever,
sir.
So you got a return?
I got a return.
Did you get a return before the stop?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did it come back to that vehicle?
It came back to a white GMC. I'm not sure if I didn't get the chance to confirm the VIN or not, but from, I believe what the return had said, to my knowledge, the return was like a 1990 something white GMC. But I thought the GMC might have looked newer than that.
So you get up behind it, going 40 miles an hour, run the tag, get a return, smoke coming up, right? That's what you said. And the engine revving up. What happened right then? Run me through it. What happened?
I'm not sure.
Let's go step by step, because I'm
Yes,
just,
sir.
because
I'm not sure at what point I did, but I had requested Deputy Rice start my way because I thought that if it was the vehicle fled, that he would be coming northbound on 89.
Okay. So you ran the tag, you're going behind it at 40 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
When did he, what happened after that?
I initiated my traffic lights.
Okay. How long, what did you do when you initiated your traffic lights? What did the vehicle do?
The gas, they let off the gas,
Okay.
and then the vehicle turned into into the northbound lane of traffic and stopped on the northbound side of traffic.
Okay.
Onto
So
the
it
side.
stopped. It went from 40 miles an hour, crossing, slowing down.
Correct. It didn't stop like immediately like this. It crossed over. It let off the gas because it stopped going like crossed over into the northbound side, stopped on the northbound side. Before I could put my vehicle in park, they gassed it again and continued as I was.
Okay. So when they gassed it, what did they do when they gassed it? Did they go straight? Did they make a turn? Tell me what they did.
They got into the northbound side, northbound lane of traffic,
Got that.
and then immediately turned into Mahoney's Auto Repair Shop.
So made a left-hand turn.
Made a left-hand turn into the Mahoney's Auto Repair Shop.
How far do you think, oh, so, and then I'll go ahead and ask you. So after it made a left-hand turn, how far did it travel before you actually, or when did you call in for a traffic stop? At that time, or did you do it right after you ran the tag and it, tell me when you.
When I ran the traffic stop, you mean when I advised dispatch that I was
traffic stop.
Immediately when I lit them up here while they were still traveling south.
Okay. So that's when you said traffic stop.
I advised 106 SO or I'm gonna be traffic with that last 28 at Tower Loop.
Okay. So as it went into the oncoming lane, it made a left-hand turn, correct? I mean, I'm asking.
When it went,
Into
when
the-
I initiated the stop, it went into oncoming traffic, or not oncoming traffic, into the northbound lane of travel, and then came to a stop
Okay.
in front of Mahoney's.
Okay.
And then before I could put my vehicle in park and get out, they punched it, got back into the northbound lane of travel, and then whipped into Mahoney's Repair Shop. I advised SO, be advised they're pulling into Mahoney's.
Okay. So it pretty much, again, I'm just trying to grasp. So you try to make it stop, and it stopped in the oncoming lane. And
Partially.
then- partially in the oncoming lane, and then it revved up and proceeded forward, made a
Correct.
left-hand turn into Mahoney's.
Correct.
And that's when you advised them that you were stopped at Mahoney's.
Yeah, the vehicle's
vehicle.
pulling into Mahoney's.
Could you tell by your traffic lights, and I don't know if you have takedowns or if you were on your spotlight, could you tell how many people were in the vehicle?
No, sir.
So you don't know if there was a passenger in the vehicle?
No, I know there was a passenger in the vehicle upon me making traffic. Whenever I was watching that kid and giving him commands, I noticed the passenger moving, and that's when I noticed his hands come out while I was giving him commands. That's how I knew there was someone else in the vehicle.
So you didn't know till that point that it was.
Correct.
So as you, and I know it's painful, but Michael, I need to know. So when you stopped the vehicle, tell me what you said again and what transpired after you stopped, and how far did you think you stopped behind the truck initially? How far did you think that was?
Could you got two stops, and I'm interrupting because I don't want him being confused.
Well, that's what I'm trying to.
Because you keep on saying stop, and there was two, so I don't care which one, but let's maybe
Okay.
try to be clear on which one when you're asking how far behind and stuff like
Michael,
that.
the final stop before the incident in Mahoney's, how far behind did you travel, or how far behind were you from the vehicle? Do you recall?
It would have been enough. I mean, I could still see or I don't think I could see the license plate.
And you're driving a pickup, or you're driving a patrol pickup,
Ram.
a patrol?
Ram 1500.
Okay. So it sits up higher a little bit, right?
Yes, sir.
So you got him behind. Okay, then tell me again, let's go back. Tell me what you did as soon as you got behind and you made your traffic stop, final stop. The final stop, tell me again. Tell me what happened. So you're behind it,
Correct. I was positioned like this.
okay? So you're at an angle a little bit to it, okay, and tell me.
Before I can even get my vehicle in park, the driver jumps out of the vehicle to the point where he slips on the gravel.
So he slips. You're talking about the operator?
Correct.
Okay, not the vehicle. Okay.
Correct. And I'm yelling, stay in the vehicle. As I'm getting out of the vehicle, I'm saying, stay in your vehicle. And as he's running to, or going, when I say running, I mean he is adamant to get to the back of his truck. I'm telling him, just return to your vehicle, get back in the vehicle, stop. And I said stop, you know, prior to him putting his hands in the back, and then I just, let me see your hands, let me see your hands, let me see your hands. I see the passenger's hands come out, and he wasn't responding to any of my commands.
Okay. Hang on, Michael, I'm gonna stop you. Why was your video on? Why wasn't your video on the whole time?
Whenever we had jumped out, I'm not sure at what point in time my video came on. When I had jumped out of my truck, I was worried about that situation. I had slid, the way our cameras are, we don't leave them on all the time. So I had slid my camera, typically would slide my camera over, and you gotta double tap it. And I had slid it over and double tapped it. And while I was covering the vehicle back and forth, I looked down and realized that my camera was still green and it wasn't red. So at that point, I double tapped it.
And that activated it again.
Yes.
Okay. So when you was giving him verbal commands, tell me again. So he put his arm where?
In the bed of the truck.
Okay. And then what happened?
I was giving him verbal, he was digging for something.
Okay.
I don't know what he was digging for. I'm giving him verbal commands, let me see your hands, let me see your hands, let me see your hands. To stop.
Was he saying anything to you?
He didn't acknowledge me, say nothing to me.
So when you discharged your firearm, approximately how far do you think you were away from him?
I don't know how far I was. I was in the V of my truck.
Okay. Tell me what that means.
My blanket had covered my door. When I hopped out, my door was open. This is my truck here.
Okay.
And I was like this. So, I mean, however my vehicle was. And then once I shot him and his hands came out, there was no threat at that point. So I only shot him once.
And you don't recall how far you were away from the vehicle?
No, sir.
Okay. I just need clarification. When he jumped out, what was the vehicle? I mean, you said...
So the vehicle was rolling. He didn't have it in park.
Okay. So the vehicle was rolling?
As he jumped out, and while he was digging in the back, the vehicle was rolling towards me.
Okay.
And I'm not sure at what point it struck my vehicle, but it struck my vehicle.
And then, I know you already told me, so I'm just trying to grasp it. So after your shot fired, of course you radio dispatch.
I went to radio dispatch and I hadn't even had time to turn my radio on. It happened so quick that I've had to turn my radio on and then advise us so the shots have been fired.
Then what? So what were you feeling then? Because did you have what were you feeling at that time after you discharged your weapon? What were you feeling? What were you thinking?
I didn't know what their motives were.
The passenger? And
Correct. So at that point, I held cover on both subjects. You know, continuously. Let me see your hands. Let me see your hands. keep your hands where I can see them, keep your hands where I can see them. And once my backup got there, Deputy Rice, I had him do a felony takedown on the passenger, because I still didn't know if there was anybody else in the vehicle or not. And he brought the vehicle, or brought the passenger back to hit to my passenger side, or passenger side of my truck, and secured him. I had him secure him in the back of his patrol vehicle, and we approached the vehicle and cleared it. And then my priority was trying to render aid.
Let's go real quick, or not real quick, let's go to, so after the passenger was secured, you said you cleared the vehicle. What did you do to clear the vehicle?
Made sure nobody else was in the vehicle.
What does that entail?
When we had approached the vehicle, can I stand up?
Yeah, sure.
Say as if this was a vehicle, Deputy Rice had approached from the passenger side, I approached from the driver's side. I stepped over, cleared it, made sure nobody else was in the vehicle, and then secured my weapon. And then immediately ran back to my truck to get gloves.
Did y'all go inside the vehicle at all, or you
No,
just,
sir.
you just looked to see if there was any?
Correct.
Alright, I know this is just going off on the, so you said you secured your weapon, I know you put it back in your holster. Do you remember anything about your sidearm, what happened, or did somebody, what happened to your firearm after you shot?
After I shot, I secured my firearm.
Okay.
And then, you know, like I said, I went to go render aid. Cabot showed up. Once the Cabot sergeant got there, the Cabot sergeant, I handed over my firearm to him. And then after that point, I don't know what happened to it. I mean, I know my sheriff's department got it, and then I think they gave it to y'all.
I'm sure Sergeant Nelson's gonna go back, but I'm gonna ask you something. Why did you think initially, we're going back to the initial time that you turned around and you saw smoke, you said that it was a possible stolen vehicle. Why did you think it was a possible stolen vehicle?
A high crime rate. I mean, we have high crime in that area, and it was 3 o'clock in the morning. And typically when someone's having vehicle problems, they're not driving the car down the road. I mean, I'm not sure if y'all heard how loud the truck was, but I mean, it was thumping.
But it was confirmed through dispatch, of course, that the tag at least was not stolen.
Correct. But I mean, it could, I was thinking that it could have just occurred. You know, people don't know.
So, let me just ask you something, just for clarification purposes. What was your reason for stopping that truck?
For it being parked in the middle of the roadway and
Sorry, say it again.
for it being parked in the middle of the roadway
Okay.
and suspicious activity. And then while I was traveling behind it, I mean, it was driving left to center.
When that vehicle, was swerving to northbound lane, and you said, you were on your radio, did you call in pursuit?
No, sir. I didn't advise SO that it had stopped in the northbound lane. The only thing I advised them was, SO, I'm gonna be traffic with that vehicle here, Tower Loop and 89. And it set my radio back down. They crossed into oncoming traffic and was coming to a stop. And then they sped up before we could stop. Before I could put my vehicle in park, they sped up. I went to pick up my radio to advise SO that they were, fleeing, but they had immediately whipped into Mahoney's garage. So I thought, well, maybe that they're just pulling off the side of the road.
Okay. But you did advise dispatch that they were fleeing?
No. I did not advise. I went to go advise SO that they were fleeing.
Oh, you started to?
Yes, but then they turned into Mahoney, so then it just came over the radio and advised SO that be advised they're turning into Mahoney's.
Can you tell me what the passenger, every action that the passenger did from the time that you realized that it was a passenger? What was
His
the passenger?
hands were out the window.
Okay. Then what?
His hands were out the window.
Did he follow your commands or
Yes, sir.
all that stuff?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
He was compliant. I mean, the only reason why I knew he was a kid was whenever Deputy Rice came and took him from the vehicle or ordered him out of the vehicle, he was like, man, I'm just fucking 16.
When the vehicle stopped, you said that the driver just hopped out, his door open.
His door immediately opened.
Did anything else on the vehicle? Did any of the doors open or anything?
No, sir, not that I remember.
So at what point did the passenger door open?
Whenever he was ordered to get out of the vehicle by the deputy.
But did you have a clear shot since you're at an angle? Could you really see the passenger's door? I mean, I'm asking.
No, sir.
So if you're at an angle, you can
That's
just tell there's
that's why I kept going back
back and forth.
and forth.
So you don't recall, and I know we're going to skip but you don't recall how far you were after when shots were fired.
Correct.
And you was at the V of your car, correct?
Correct.
Did y'all secure the person that shot the suspect? What did y'all do when, I know you said that you went back to get, well, you were checking on the passenger, Rice got him out, secured him, and then you went to get your car. Did you secure, handcuff? I mean, tell me what.
We went to go, after the passenger was secured, we went and cleared the vehicle.
Okay.
I went to go grab gloves before we could even do any handcuffing or anything like that. Cabot had showed up and had pulled me out of the scene.
Okay.
So did you have any more contact with the scene after they pulled you out?
No, sir. Matter of fact, my wallet, everything is still in my truck.
Still to this day?
To this day.
So they just immediately pulled you out after just
Correct.
de-escalate it to get you out, or whatever they did.
I went and I sat in Deputy Rice's vehicle for just 2 seconds and then realized that, they went to go put me into Deputy Rice's vehicle, but he had a bunch of stuff there, and I told him, no, that's where the other juvenile was. So then Deputy Ram, the one that was supposed to go home at 1 o'clock, she pulled up, and I sat in her vehicle. And then once my lieutenant got there, my lieutenant turned my camera off and took it, and I went and sat in his vehicle.
Who's your lieutenant?
Lieutenant William Langley.
Langley.
So if you would, tell me about your policy with your department as far as video, camera, everything that you know about it.
Anytime we're in contact with the public, we're to have it on.
And what type of cameras do y'all have?
The Axon taser cameras,
Okay.
chest cams.
The what?
The Axon taser chest cams.
Okay.
Just the gills that magnetically stick to whatever.
What about in-car?
Off we. No, we don't have any dash cameras. Matter of fact, our policy states that you aren't to have any aftermarket dash cams unless it's issued by the department, or I would have had a dash camera in there. Because I used to be a canine, And I would always use my dash camera for you know, training purposes on that. But they came out with the policy that if it's not department issued, you can't have it.
How do you activate the chest cam?
It has a switch on the top, and then you gotta press it twice.
So it's an initial power switch.
Correct. Because we don't leave ours on the whole time of patrol because it dies and has a lot of issues.
So you got 2 movements, or 3. You got to
Two. You
Click.
gotta click it this
Tap.
way and then double tap.
so total 3 movements to turn it to
Correct.
make it record or something.
Correct.
So if it's if the switch is in the off position, I'm sorry, in the on position, and you hadn't double tap, does it have like?
It'll automatically do, it should, the way it works is that, I'm not sure if it's 15 or 30 seconds or what amount of seconds, but it should have some type of seconds to where it has back recording, but it doesn't have audio.
So what if it's in the off position?
Nothing. If it's in the off position, it would have to be in the on position for it to have any type of back recording.
You talking about the pre-recording, pre-event recording?
Mhm.
Is that what you're, okay.
So if it's in the off position, it's just like you said, it just has no power.
Correct.
Am I tracking right?
Correct. No power.
So how long does that take to power up if you have it in off position to the on? Is it just like that?
That would have to be asked by someone
No,
else.
I mean, I was just curious. I
I
don't know
don't
how
know.
y'all's cameras work, so I was just,
So what does y'all policy say as far as leaving that toggle switch on and off? Do y'all have to have it on the whole time?
No.
or shit?
It doesn't say, to my knowledge, it doesn't say anything about that. It just says that, you know, anytime you're in the public view or you're dealing with the public, your camera is to be on.
okay, so if we're talking about video cameras, you've made traffic stops, right?
Correct.
Have you used your camera on the traffic stops?
Yes, sir.
When do you normally activate your camera on the traffic stop?
Right after I'm getting out of the vehicle.
So, and that'll take the preset pre-recording time in consideration, and then it'll start.
Correct.
Pretty
About
much
right as
right
I get up.
as you get up there.
Yes.
And you normally, every traffic stop, or like you said, any encounter that you have with
The public, correct.
public, domestics to motorists to traffic to accidents to whatever.
Correct.
How long y'all been using that system?
I'll say 4 or 5 years, 4 years or so.
Any issues with it?
Oh, yeah.
Like what?
One of our canine deputies now, which this camera is a newer camera to me.
Say again. Sorry.
This camera is a newer camera to me. I lost my other camera in a car fire assisting y'all with a guy that was fleeing from y'all and had suspectedly shot his brother in the head. And I actually crawled into the vehicle and got him out of there before the car burst into the flames and had dropped my body camera in there. But I know 2 other deputies that are constantly having problems with their cameras not recording properly. They shut off while they're recording, and they put letters in, and that's why we're in the process of looking at different cameras.
So is there anything about what we asked you today or that we didn't ask you that we may need to know, or something maybe you want to put on the record?
Did you want me to tell them about that one incident?
You can, I got one part of this incident, I think it's not been developed well enough to. Yeah, let me do mine first, and then you can tell them about that. and I want to make it clear, I'm not trying to complain about your alls. I've had the opportunity to spend some time with him, obviously. I want you to go back when the guy got out of the car and went out of the truck cab and went to the bed of the truck. Did he put only one hand in? Did he put two hands in? Did he keep both hands in? If he put two in, did he keep one? You talked about it, but it was a very short part, and I'd like you to just kind of run through that whole thing and what you were doing, because
Both hands. He had both hands in the bed of the truck digging for them. Digging for whatever he was digging for.
So give me an approximate time frame. From the time that he jumped out the truck, was digging.
I mean, it was immediately. Like, I mean, as he jumped out of the truck, anytime someone's jumped out of the truck, it's always return to the vehicle, stay in your vehicle, and then it's return to your vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
So what was his body stance? What was his body view? If he was exiting the vehicle?
If this is the bed of the truck here, he is like this, digging.
This is your vehicle out here?
Yes.
I think his question is a little bit different. Start with the subject getting out of the truck and what his movements from there to the time you saw his hands in the truck. If I understood your question.
Go ahead, that's fine.
Like he hopped out of his truck, went like this, jumped straight in, started digging like this.
And then keep going.
Keep digging like this as I'm giving him verbal commands to stop. And then I shot him, he came out and fell back, and blue jug or some jug came flying out with him.
So you shot him, just confirming what you said for understanding purposes. You shot him while his hands was where?
Still in the bed of the truck.
In the truck.
And at that point, when his hands came out, there was no longer a threat to me. So, and while all that was happening, the truck was rolling towards me.
So as he was digging in the
Truck. His truck was rolling back and he was stepping with his truck. He never said one word.
anything else? What else did you want to add? Is there anything else you wanted to say?
Did you want me to tell him about that deal, or?
He had a previous one where he didn't shoot. Is that the one you're talking
Yeah.
about? Yeah, just go ahead for the record.
In the past, I've been in situations sort of like this. Well, not like this, but there was a suicidal guy who was wanting suicide by cop. And I had located him at a church. And while sitting there speaking with him, he's like, I'm like, man, I said, someone said you're going through a hard time, you took a lot of pills, what's going on with you? He's like, I just want to die today. And I'm like, well, why do you want to die? He's like, man, I just don't want to live. There's no reason to live. And he's like, I'm like, okay. I said, why don't you step out and let's go? He's like, no. He's like, I want you to kill me. I'm like, I'm not going to kill you. I said, we're going to get you help. And I'm like, do you have any weapons on you? He's like, yeah, I got a pistol here in my center console. I advise SOB advised he has a pistol in the center console. And I said, well, go ahead and step out of the vehicle for me. Well, he says, fuck you, you're just going to have to kill me. So I go hands-on with him, and he immediately reaches down into his console. I back off, push off, draw down to the back of the truck and take cover. And clearly I know he's wanting suicide by cop, and he comes out. And of course, he's trying to get me to shoot him, trying to make it think like he has a gun, like has his hand underneath his shirt and stuff like that. And ultimately, I get with to where I can sticky man him and shove him up against the truck and take him into custody. And that was the closest I've ever came to shooting somebody. And later on, I opened the door and was like hollering and screaming. I'm like, dude, are you fucking stupid? Are you crazy? Well, I mean, you know how close you got. He's like, I just want to thank you. He's like, I prayed to God and said that I'm going to die today. I want an officer to kill me. And then if you let that happen, then I don't have any reason to be on this earth. But if it doesn't happen, then there's purpose for me on this earth. And I know there's a lot of, I can't say anything.
How long ago was that? A couple of years ago? Or?
Been about 3 or 4 years.
I don't have any more.
Got a couple more. Tell me what was going through your head when you pulled the trigger, or right before you pulled the trigger.
And he clearly hasn't listened to any of my commands, hasn't acknowledged me, hadn't said anything that he was adamant to cause me harm. I mean, with his truck rolling, he didn't even say, I mean, I thought he was going to kill me. And I made a promise. I'm coming home. I mean, why would he sit there and just ignore my commands? The passenger listened to my commands.
When you giving those commands, was the truck still running?
I believe so.
Can you recall if it was still smoking?
He was, yeah, but I believe the way that the wind was blowing, it was pushing the smoke away, way towards us. But at first, there was a lot of smoke.
I just want to, I just want to talk about the shot real quick. I know you said you haven't ever used your weapon in the line of duty except put down on animals. Tell me, because I want to know kind of like what Robert was saying. Why would you, I'm just asking, why would you shoot one time? Is you just thought the threat was done after one? I mean, tell me why only once. Why would you shoot?
Because as soon as I shot him, immediately as I shot, his hands immediately came out of the back of the truck. And at that point, all I saw was the jug. And I knew that there was no threat. Our training tells us, shoot until the threat is done with. And at that point, I saw his hands. The hands are what kills us. And at that point, I saw his hands, and then there wasn't a threat anymore. I mean, immediately when I shot, his hands came out.
Have you ever had your duty weapon confiscated from you?
Yes, sir. Like, what do you mean by confiscated?
Like taken from you by other law enforcement or your supervisors or anything?
Not other law enforcement.
Let us talk, I'm not sure, we're getting into a very touchy area. Let me speak for him, and then if you want to, the answer would be yes. He had his gun temporarily taken then. Walgreens settled a large lawsuit
When was it?
several years ago.
Several years ago.
Yeah, I mean,
Where at?
Oklahoma.
The lawsuit was settled through the Lonoke Court though.
Through the Lonoke Court.
Yeah, I mean, so it's sort of one of those, I don't want to get, all the details, but I mean, I'll give you the document. I didn't represent him, but I'll give you the documentation from circuit court. And he was never had his gun officially relieved of duty type thing, but to answer your question truthfully, we couldn't say no because he had his weapon with him like you all do when you're, when I say you all, I mean all policemen I know, a lot of times they don't get very far away from their gun, especially if they're traveling.
Yeah.
What was it?
It was,
Okay. So you wouldn't mind providing those documents you just said?
I'll give you a copy of the lawsuit.
Go ahead. We'll take it.
I'm in the process of getting it, and I know the lawyer that represented him, but I mean, it didn't go to trial. Walgreens.
Settled
So y'all
outside.
settled and it's closed?
Correct, and I had to sign a disclosure saying that I couldn't talk about it.
So,
But he can, yeah,
I can talk about it, he can't.
I got you. We gonna stick it.
And I didn't represent him, so I'm not bound by the, settlement agreement, but I mean, my office has already checked, and we're in the process of trying to download from Court Connect the complaint that was filed in circuit court, and then it was removed to federal court. And, so, I mean, I hope you all understand, he had that problem, plus it was real hard to try to not say no or say yes, because I didn't want to, and he didn't want to mislead you either when you asked the question.
I understand, and I appreciate y'all being upfront about it.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably find it if you went looking hard enough, so it wasn't, that was going to come out wrong. I was going to say it wouldn't be to our advantage to mislead you, and it wouldn't have been an intentional one. And since the complaint is a public record and the case was settled and dismissed, I don't think they can do that, but the actual terms of the money given and whatnot would be confidential.
Did anybody get hurt?
no.
Did you?
I mean,
I'm just checking on your well-being. Are you okay?
from that incident?
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you had your weapons confiscated
No,
in your
sir.
time other than what Mr. Newcomb described?
No.
Came back to work. They
When was this?
went on this incident in
On the same
Oklahoma.
incident.
I mean, Oklahoma, just like if you got stopped for or something happened, they're going to call the state police.
Correct.
And Oklahoma called the SO.
Right.
So the SO, before they would let him come back to work. I don't have a copy yet. I don't even know who did it, but they.
Yes.
But other than that, to my knowledge, no.
And how are you doing now?
How am I doing now?
Not talking about the incident that just happened, but from
Oh.
the incident in Oklahoma.
Oh, I'm great.
Right.
I mean, Walgreens paid for some toys, and
Gotcha.
I mean,
So about this incident that we're here for today, have you spoken with someone about that?
That's in the process.
I was told I couldn't until I done this. But I was told I just wing it. So that way I'd be in my right mind to do this interview. No, sir. While we were in Hot Springs, I had taken vacation time in Hot Springs the past weekend. With me being a firefighter, I took time off. I'm a captain of the fire department. And we all go down to the fire convention. So, during the time while I was down there, I in a hotel room somewhere. But it was supposed to be. So at the time of the incident, I think that it would been while we were in Hot Springs.
Can you be a little bit more specific on
Pull my phone out. Well, I turned it off. Let's see. We were off that weekend before, so it was a weekend before this past weekend. I think it was the 9th, 11th, or 10th and 11th.
So it'd been, if it was on the weekend, it'd been Friday is the 11th, Saturday
Yeah,
the 12th.
it'd been that Friday.
So that,
Correct. No, sir.
I understand.
He's putting it in the vernacular.
I got you. You got anything additional that you want to put on the record or pass us out that you may need to know?
No, sir, not that I can think of. Is there anything?
Thank you, Brad.
Okay. We're gonna go ahead and conclude this at 2:24 on the interview.
We need to give y'all some information.
Yes, sir. Just one second.
Bear back with you just a second. What do you got?
Where it's not being recorded. Y'all wanted a phone number for him.
Y'all done with your bottles?
No,
I'll throw them away. I didn't know if
I'm
y'all
sorry.
wanted. No, it's fine.
Put it outside. So you'll get it. No outside.
Oh, well, I thought you said down there.